These people he called the last men, and for them he reserved his most fervent fury. These were men and women who'd turned their backs on challenging ideals, but felt they were content. They had a banal existence. They did everything in their powers to limit excesses of joy or sorrow. Their concern was the trivial and the narcissistic, and so they lived lives of timid mediocrity, fooling themselves that they were happy. They bought into what Nietzsche described as the religion of comfortableness.
The hackers were demonstrating the growing power of finance. How the companies that ran the new systems of credit knew more and more about you, and increasingly used that information to control your destiny. Surkov's aim was not just to manipulate people, but to go deeper and play with and undermine their very perception of the world. They called it perception management, which meant that no one was sure what was real or what was fake. It's a strategy of power that keeps any opposition constantly confused. A ceaseless shape-shifting that is unstoppable because it is indefinable. It meant that the radical fury that came like waves across the internet no longer had the power to change the world. Real power was elsewhere, hidden away behind the stage, exercised without anyone seeing it. And behind it all, the massive inequality kept on growing, yet the structure of power remained the same. Nothing ever changed, because nothing could be allowed to destabilize the system. That whatever they did or said had no effect. That the stories politicians told their people about the world had stopped making sense. And in the face of that, you could play with reality. The underlying aim, Surkov said, was not to win the war, but to use the conflict to create a constant state of destabilized perception, to manage and control. And it didn't matter if the stories were true or not, providing they distracted people. But behind the superficial freedoms of the web were a few giant corporations with opaque systems that controlled what people saw and shaped what they thought. But to make the system work, Pearl and others had imported a model of human beings drawn from economics. The model assumed that the agent would always act rationally in order to get what it wanted, nothing more. One online analyst put it simply: angry people click more. Nothing can be allowed to destabilize the system. A constant state of destabilized perception. Nothing more. Play with reality. Angry people click more. It meant that the radical fury that came like waves across the internet had the power to change the world. It meant that the radical fury that came like waves across the internet had the power to change the world. It meant that the radical fury that came like waves across the internet had the power to change the world. It meant that the radical fury that came like waves across the internet had the power to change the world. It meant that the radical fury that came like waves across the internet had the power to change the world.